budgeting that going forward. I don't know if that fund really has a stable revenue source, but that's kind of how we'll do things. And Chief Baker, if you just want to kind of go talk about your portion of the budget and where things are in your department. Thank you.
Sure. Real quick, my understanding is everybody here, including the new council, received the description, duties, accomplishments, and goals. So I hope you had an opportunity to look over that. I just wanted to highlight a couple items. We currently operate with 4 Ohio certified firefighter paramedics around the clock. These individuals work at an extremely high level. We have a new medical director that's attached to us from the Cleveland Clinic. All are ACLS and PALS certified, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, Pediatric Advanced Life Support, as well as VAN certified. VAN certification is new to us for large occlusion vessel blockages and strokes. So just as an example, we had one last year that Lieutenant Wick identified. There was a record for the Cleveland Clinic. It was, they call it door to needle. It was 17 minutes. That was a record for the Cleveland Clinic. And through this certification, we were able to identify that. Dr. Fellenbaum grew up in Pepper Pike. His mom lives here. His brother lives here. I went to Orange schools, and he actually worked on the rubbish crew. I don't know if you remember him or not.
That's quite a resume.
Yeah, so he knows all the streets here too. But he's been awesome. It's been a big change. He spends 3 days a month with our paramedics, and we're bringing our level and quality of care extremely high for the residents of Pepper Pike. Just a few numbers to follow up with. Pepper Pike responded to 1,327 911 calls for fire and emergency services so far this year. Fire incidents are about 40% of our 911 call volume. We had 3 major structure fires this year. EMS response, we had 604 patient contacts so far this year, 471 ambulance transports. We primarily transport the Hoosier Hillcrest and Hillcrest Feed. 65% of the community chooses Cleveland Clinic as their choice. Average response time was 5 minutes, 39 seconds. And 93% of all EMS calls are handled or responded to in less than 8 minutes. Accomplishments, you can read through that on the accomplishments that we had. We had some technical rescue training that occurred. The big part of that is, much like the police have VEDGE and EDGE, where they collaborate on SWAT, bomb, accident investigation, things like that. We do that with technical rescue. So 15 cities in the Heights Hillcrest area formed a technical rescue team, which includes our department. 5 of our fire department members are part of that. What this does in the collaboration, we share resources, we share the equipment, and share the personnel, so it reduces costs of any city trying to handle that themselves. So the southeast part of Cuyahoga County handles hazardous materials. They cover 30 cities in Cuyahoga County. We flip those services with them. So we get free hazmat services out of that by providing the technical rescue services. So there's a large collaboration on those special calls. They responded to 15 incidents this year in technical rescue. So that pretty much sums up that. Goals. I didn't actually have any goals in there. I just have 4. One, we have a lieutenant retiring this year. So we're in the process of promoting a firefighter to lieutenant. So that testing process, there'll be a written examination assessment center and a psychological with that, much as the police department does. And that should be finished up by about the end of January.
That was lieutenant. Did you say lieutenant?
Lieutenant, yes. So we have a lieutenant who's in charge of each shift, 3 lieutenants total, and then myself. There's no mid-management. So number 2, we talked about this last year, about filling out our short shift by converting 1 part-time position to full-time. We talked about budgeting that. Number 3, want to focus on fire and EMS community risk reduction. We currently do that. Each lieutenant is an Ohio certified fire inspector. So they handle the duties of fire inspectors. The city is divided up into thirds. Each lieutenant handles that duty. as well as being an Ohio certified instructor. They handle the training for that shift as well. With the increase in call volume, it's difficult to do both. So I want to try and refocus that and do some strategic scheduling, possibly using part-time to try and ramp that back up. Included in that, I'd like to see a community risk reduction with healthcare and EMS in the community, which may look something like a community paramedicine program. But again, it's difficult to do that when we're running calls during the day. Last, I would support the implementation of watering the community. I sleep extremely well at night with the quality of the personnel that we have in the fire department. Only place I don't sleep well with is worrying about the individuals that live on streets that don't have any water. So I would like to see that a priority in trying to water the rest of our city. And there's only 3 streets left that really need that. And we've been working with Don and the mayor on that. So see that as a priority. Jumping into the budget, revenue on the front side, we work off a 4 mil property tax levy. Unfortunately, due to House Bill 920, that's a fixed levy for everybody but the schools. So what are we fixed? It's fixed on the amount of when it's voted. The only thing that affects that is new construction. So we pick up the new construction on that levy as that comes in the revaluations. The schools have the 20 mil floor on the inside millage, so it gives them the ability to raise some of their funds on the inside millage. We don't have that opportunity in the standard levy. So property tax on our levy doesn't offer any increase due to cost of durable goods or any cost of living. Buildings and vehicles have a great impact on this. And we have aging equipment, which we just spent $1.1 million on a fire truck, and we have a 50-year-old building.
Is that fire truck going to be a 2026 expense or a capital expenditure or a 2025?
2025, and it was budgeted.
I know. I didn't know which year it was going to hit.
That's the plan. We don't have the invoice for it yet, but we'd like to get that out before the end of the year and use it for 2025. Otherwise, we'll be amending it, see it in the 2026.
Just curious.
So moving on to personnel in the budget, we're currently in negotiations, so those, Peter can talk later about the, you'll see that as fixed, consistent numbers. If you move to conferences, education, and travel, you see that varies over the years. So for example, in 2023 to 2024, you'll see a big jump. Well, again, we have to send some of our people out for training. It requires outside certifications. So sometimes that's higher. In 2024, we sent 2 out, which was a 6-month program. So you see a big jump between 2023 and 2024. So occasionally that fund you'll see vary, and it depends on the trainings that we're sending personnel to. Contract services, this always seems to come up every year and is, seems to be a point in the budget. So we have 8 contracts for service that represent 81% of that total budget. One of those alone with the city of Cleveland Water Department is 30% of that entire budget. So 8 of those, it includes the hydrant water, EMS and fire records management, our EKG defibrillator and AED testing and certifications by FDA, technical rescue contract. So this is the collaboration I was talking about. So we pay Shaker Heights, they're the fiduciary on that. And that's our share of that fund. That'll be going up next year. That's why you see a little bit of a rise in 26 as well. 26 to 28, that'll be rising. It includes our firefighter physicals and our ambulance stretcher testing and certification. Most of the rest of those items are under $1,000. So those 8 items represent more than 3/4 of that budget.
I'm sorry, you said Cleveland Water was 30%.
It's $30,000.
Is that just hydrant maintenance and
No, it's for the water,
for the water itself?
yes.
Ah, okay.
And that's for hydrant flushing. So every city gets hit with that expense, and it's based on the number of hydrants they have. So they figured out how much water you expel from a hydrant during testing, and we get charged for that. Moving on, so the rest of those items were under $1,000. So it's a lot of small items, but again, a lot of those are contractual items as well. Moving on to ambulance billing fees. When we've had increased patient transports, so obviously that increases the dollar amount, and we have a fixed fee of 7% on our billing. So you'll see that go up based on that as well. More transports, more funds, we have to pay more to administer that program.
Do you have any sense of the reason for the increased transports? Is it just growing population, aging population?
We've been breaking a record. Actually, that's when I wrote this in November, early November, we had already broken the record from the previous year. So one of the problems is the baby boomers are aging. They predict that over the next 15 to 20 years that'll be a huge bubble in the population of over 65 and requiring a great amount of medical care. So it's not going to get any less. It's just going to increase in EMS and transports to the hospital.
That's under the rescue numbers? It's the blue bar on this chart?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 26, we're going to propose, you'll see a jump to from last year to the previous year in collections. And that was due to a House bill, I think it was 411, that changed the structure of ambulance billing. So we used to have to contract with all the providers. And this House bill took that away and allowed to go on a standard rural rate for Medicare, which actually increased the amount that we collected. So you'll see it jump to almost 200,000, and that was due to a legislative change.
Where is that, Chief?
That is, if you look at ambulance billing,
Yeah, I see 185 in 2026.
go backwards.
Oh, okay.
You see that jump?
Oh, okay.
That was legislated
Okay.
and
I was
to our benefit.
I was looking forward, so
Yeah.
it's stable going forward.
Yep. Yeah, it's being conservative because we really don't know what those numbers are going to be. So it's a conservative number, but we did really well last year, 200,000 collections.
Do you bill on all transports, even for residents, or is it non-residents? How do you?
So what happens, the insurance, it's insurance only billing,
Okay,
which includes Medicare and Medicaid
okay,
and alternate insured. So there's no out of pocket on that.
for a resident,
Correct.
okay.
Anybody outside the area would be billed the entire sum,
Mhm.
except collections. Sometimes they're difficult. We can talk about this in the beginning of the year. There's some ways that we can help out with collections. We can talk about that,
We don't need to get into that now, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
but we can talk about that in January.
Most of your billing has got to be Pepper Pike residents, right?
Yes.
By
Yep.
far.
And co-insurance is prominent here. So generally, it's we're recovering some good insurance money off of that.
Unfortunately, we had to use it.
So,
Fortunately.
Also, our billing rate and our mileage rate hasn't been adjusted in a few years, so we'll look at that too. I collected everything from Cuyahoga County, and in January, we're able to take a look at that, make a proposal on increasing the ALS and BLS fees as well as the mileage.
Is the short answer you're behind the market on that?
I would say so.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, you could, if you wanted, you could say you could charge $2,000.
Right.
But Medicare's not gonna pay that. You know, we get about $350 out of that.
Okay.
So it's a balance. And we can look at the entire county and kind of bring that up, but it'll bring in a few more dollars. So that's it for ambulance billing. Equipment maintenance. If you notice, that's up in 26. What Peter did in the capital is he removed everything that was below $5,000. So all those items were pulled out of capital. Under 5,000 are placed into equipment maintenance, and that fund is actually equipment maintenance and equipment. So a lot of our small equipment purchases came out of capital and moved into this. So that moved from something $17,000 to $30,000.
And can you do that across the board? It's below 5,000, just expensing it.
Yeah, so this year, one of the changes we made previously, the capital asset threshold was $2,000. That's extraordinarily
Too
low
low,
by any
yeah.
standard. The GFOA standard for that is 5,000. There's communities that have it higher than that. I just went with the GFOA standard for now to get us to that point. And we made that change, basically a couple of months ago. And I knew I'd be facing this in the budget, so I kind of wanted to just tee it up for the budget and the auditors at the end of the year. Should be,
Yeah, no, seems a lot of time
Yeah.
on capitalizing those small things.
Congratulations on
Yeah.
doing that. Thank you. It's past due. I'm glad you did that.
So moving those out did raise up that equipment fund, nearly doubled it, but a lot of, there were probably, I think there were 7 items that pulled out of capital and placed into that. Moving to capital, just remember that we had purchased a new ambulance 2.5 years ago. Expected delivery is in January. That'll be 2026 expense, approximately $350,000. And then the new pumper will be paid for this year at $1.1 million. For 26, other capital items replacing our EMS chase vehicle. This is actually a pickup truck. So when our ambulance goes out with 2 and an additional person in the pickup truck. This gives us the ability to rearrange staffing if he's not needed on that particular EMS call. You can come back to the station, and then it allows 2 to staff back at the station. Additionally, in the wintertime, it has a plow on it. We just used it the other day. We plowed out a driveway so we could get the ambulance into the driveway. So it has that useful purpose in the wintertime too. Another larger ticket item, we're replacing our fire station alerting system at $75,000. This is in conjunction with Beechwood Fire and Dispatch in upgrading their alerting systems. And then we just have radio headsets and intercoms on our pumper and ladder truck. And then other items deal with regional projects and or small station repairs. A lot of those come up on a frequent basis, either drain projects, sewer projects, things like that within the building. Moving on to, it's identified as MERC, which is now CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team. It's grant funded. There was a large grant that was acquired about 12 years ago.
This on page 31, if you're following along. That's the other 2 special revenue funds, yeah.
So that was a large grant over 12 years ago. And it did increase for next year to reflect their actual expenses to equip the team. They currently have 29 members with the CERT team. And then there's still some left on the FEMA. I think that's how you have that fund listed.
Yep.
Is that on the same page?
Yeah, it is. It's on page 31 also, so we'll see if they're only get there.
So that's just some leftover funds from a previous project that will clear up this year.
And it's probably just best to appropriate it in case he needs them. If he doesn't need them, then he'll just carry forward.
So what's I know it's a small dollar amount, but what is it used for? Or
So-
what would potentially that be used for?
So in the past 15 years, we've used, they call it the Assistance of Firefighter grant. So it's a federal grant that we've been able to replace all our radios. We replaced all our gear at one point, all our air packs. Represents about, in the last 12 years, about $350,000 in federal aid for the big ticket projects. We also bought the regional command and rehab truck with that. That was about 500,000. So about 850,000, with 350 directly benefiting Pepper Pike.
Great.
If these funds don't have a source of funding, I think it's good to just, get them into the rearview mirror because they just make the statements more complex and without really any benefit.
Yeah, we're not supposed to have funds that don't have a funding source. So, in this case, these did at some point, so they're in there. I don't know that we could we should just close them while we have expenditures, for instance, the MERC fund. We're gonna have these expenditures going forward, and then I don't know if we'll just eliminate the fund and put it under fire at that point.
I think you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Just spend it down
Mhm.
and,
And
it
the
doesn't have a
FEMA will
regular
have to
funding
keep,
source. There's no
Yeah.
real good reason to keep it going.
yeah, the FEMA one will have to keep forever no matter what.
So that's all I have relative to the budget. Any questions?
Chair, well, thank you for all that. That was comprehensive and very helpful in bringing us up to date on all you've done and you're still doing. I'm curious, the van certified, the new thing, what is that for stroke and aneurysms? And
Yeah,
things?
so it's to identify a large vessel occlusion.
Okay,
It's visual acuity, acuity and neglect. That's what the VAN stands for. So we can test a person. We also do use another test called the Cincinnati Stroke Scale. So between these two scales, we can identify whether it's a blockage and
okay,
a blockage in a large vessel. So here's another example. A month ago, we had a crash on the freeway. Individual had a large vessel occlusion. Hillcrest Hospital happens to be one of only 3 facilities in Northeast Ohio that can go in and grab that clot and remove it. They completely remove that clot out of the individual's head.
And you can tell that, because I just went through this with a relative, tell the difference between an aneurysm and an occlusion?
So
Does it train on that?
there are 2 types of strokes. You either bleed or you're blocked.
Or you're blocked?
So in general, about 30% of the population has a bleed and about 70% has a blockage.
Okay. And does the training help them distinguish between those two? Because the
Yes.
treatment is different.
So it definitely leads to, we can't tell precisely that it's a bleed, but we can tell when it's a large vessel occlusion.
Okay, okay.
So that's a big difference, and that's the biggest difference I've seen in the last 50 years in medical care and the ability to pull that clot out of their head before they would be completely debilitated.
But it gives me great comfort to see the specialized training on that line item here. And I just went through pediatric life support myself training, so I understand how special that is. And it's great to see all our firefighters have that, so that's wonderful. I don't have any other questions, Chief.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Well done.
Thank you, Chief. Just gonna want to move it along to the police chief. This stuff is on pages 9 through 12, and he's gonna give an overview of information.
Sure. Again, I'm assuming everybody read the information on the sheet, focus accomplishment wise on.
Before we go on, Chief, one last question. In terms, I don't think you don't have a lot of turnover, but how is it, to the extent you're having turnover and attracting the talent you need? Because I agree with you, it seems like we get top quality people, and you maintain that. Is finding new firefighters a challenge, or is there good supply of quality people?
So that's a great question. So in our last test, and we were partially funded to fill that spot. So I queried our test that was given last year. 150 candidates were on that list. I queried 40, the top 40 on that list, and only had 6 replies. I couldn't even fill, we had to have 10 to pick one person. I couldn't even fill that out.
6 replies specific to Pepper Pike. So do you want to be a firefighter in Pepper Pike?
Yes, are you interested in still being on this test?
Okay,
And for possible selection. 3 didn't meet it because they weren't paramedics. Only 3 were qualified, but I need 10 in order to hire someone. That would be an example. We just gave in September, we gave another, we're doing a test each year now. There was about 100 candidates that qualified,
Mhm.
and only about half of those are paramedics. So that pool keeps dwindling, and this is for full-time people.
Yeah,
Part-time's very similar. We don't have people knocking the door down to seek out part-time employment
is that,
with our fire department.
does that reflect that fewer people want to be firefighters overall? Or does it reflect something about Pepper Pike?
So actually, I think you're seeing something very similar to what you're seeing in the boomers. So the boomer population was a peak of 18-year-olds back in, whenever, 1960.
64.
So you had a large group of young people at that point. Now that has sloped off.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it in a lot of, in the trades.
Right.
A lot of the younger people are not entering those. They may be going to school or finding different jobs or better paying jobs. So the pool at all levels is just very limited.
Okay, that's not reflective of our attractiveness as a place to work, it's just the overall trends.
Well, it's just so, in the fire service, it's extremely competitive. One of the first things I do is hand our contract out. So the younger people today are very inquisitive about that and focus in on the elements of the contract.
When you said you needed 10, what did you mean by that?
For civil service, for selection, we need 10 candidates to select one to meet the civil service requirements.
10 that are qualified to create the pool from which
Yes.
you select the one.
And what
Yes.
happens
Is
if
that
you
an
can't find a tenant?
Ohio law or what?
So that's like civil service rules, but it does match Ohio's. Almost every city adopts 1 for 10.
Do we have to revisit that since the pool is getting smaller?
So yeah, so what happens if you want to hire someone, you can't find 10 people that are interested from the pool of candidates with the criteria you set?
Well, hopefully you do. Now, our pool in the past has been good. That was just a reflection of that test. Maybe many of them had been picked over already. Hard to say exactly what drove that.
Yeah, so going right after the test and grabbing them and most of them, 6 months later, many of them would be gone, right?
Correct. It is a hiring rich environment on the full-time side. It's very cyclic.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a possibility too. That pool is down.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll focus on, I know I listed accomplishments in the brochure, but I'll focus on ones that are related to the budget. For 2025, thanks to the help of council, the addition of a sergeant's position and an additional officer was huge. It brought our department to 20 officers. Going into next year, we'll have a shift sergeant for each of the 4 shifts, a detective sergeant, and also 3 additional officers per shift, so there'll be 4 officers per shift, along with the detective lieutenant, myself, and the school resource officer. For next year, we'll be hiring 1 more officer to bring us to 20, so he'll be put through the academy as well. We'll be testing again next year for 1 space. And the 2 new hirees from last year will be graduating the academy, and they'll be starting on the road next year. So that should be early spring.
So we'll have 1 additional police officer in 26 that we don't have in 25? Is that?
Yes, we lost 1 this year, so we'll be hiring 1 to replace
Oh,
him
I
next
see, as a
year.
replacement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're down to 19 at the moment. So-
Correct, but 2 of them were in the academy. That's right. One of the bigger expenses will be improvement of the access control system. We're going to bring it up to speed so it matches City Hall, matches the service department. The system we have right now through Verkada is an outdated end-of-life system. So we'll be bringing it up so it's compatible with everything else here and hardwired and generator backed instead of just, I think right now it takes AA batteries, like 8 of them. And it doesn't always communicate properly with,
Yeah.
and for us, locking is essential because we have different rules through leads, which is everybody's personal information, through BCI. Rooms have to be locked that have this information in them, so we need that system to work properly. So that's
It'll be better than getting into your garage door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Is
you
that
know,
the 86,000?
that's the 86,000, that's right, but then, you know, you're talking about an 8-year shelf life at least, 8 to 10 years, once it's in place. The implementation of the first call program, which council approved recently, that'll be an additional expense, but I believe much of that'll be covered by grants once we apply for those, along with some funding that the finance director was able to obtain. So it shouldn't have much of an impact.
And he's talking about the opioid fund that we set up. So if you look there, there's not very much in the opioid fund that we'll be getting from that revenue source. Is only a couple of $1,000, I think, a year that's budgeted in there. I know we'll have, like we received just the other day, some funding, was it 12,000 or 13,000? So it's like $12,000 that we did get. That's not reflected in this budget. It's kind of mess up all the numbers, but, you know, if we need more appropriation later, we'll go ahead and we'll get that. We're not sure exactly when this whole program will get ramped up, or if it'll get ramped up for 2026, but if it does, you know, we may very well want to appropriate that. If not for 2026, we'll have it there for 2027, but it'll probably only be a fraction of whatever the cost is to run the program. But I know the chief is working on, as he said, some other source of grant funding.
Absolutely. Really not much changes for next year. We're only replacing one car next year. So that's pretty minimal. Even though the cost keeps going up, it should be 75,000 to equip something properly and purchase a new vehicle. Ballistic helmets need to be replaced. Those are for active shooter type situations. Ours are end of life. They're almost 10 years old now. So that's a cost of about $33,000.
They just break down over time, right? You just have to replace them even if they're not.
Allegedly. Yeah, it's
Right.
just, yeah, these are the
That's what they tell you
recommendations.
when you look at them.
Right. So we've had them for a while. They take them in their duty bags every day out to the car, just in case, you know, along with the rifle and everything else. The duty handguns, we're going to upgrade those as well. Currently, our handguns are around 8 years old. Through range, they have a lot of rounds through them. Luckily, through the trade-in programs, we can get probably close to 75% of what we paid for them originally. The resale is still very good, but the newer, we're going to stick most likely with Glocks, but the newer Glocks, they come outfitted where you could, they come with a red dot on it as well, which many departments now are upgrading to red dots for low light situations, you know, target acquisition viewing. You're actually physically seeing the red dot, you know, on the target, instead of like when I started, when you had the glow in the dark viewfinder and you're holding up a flashlight at the same time as you shoot your handgun at range. So there's just so much more technology now, and we want to keep our guys up to speed. You know, also you can attach a flashlight on the bottom of them, which we have now as well, but it's the addition of the red dot that'll be very helpful. So with the trade and the cost isn't nearly as bad as you would think it would be. Like I said, around $21,000. And then it's, you know, 8 to 10 years that we have those for. Contract services, nothing new there, but the biggest expenses are always the Axon equipment, which is the body cameras and tasers. That's $28,000 every year. Redaction software we have is $11,500. That's for, we get between 150 to 200 public records requests a year for either accidents or reports, body camera footage, and we don't have, you know, assistants to do that stuff. So using the AI software through Axon, it saves a ton of time for us to get this to either insurance companies or prosecutors as quickly as we can, defense attorneys. And then we can just, everything's audited. It's a great system. It's online. They get temporary access to the video, and it's all audited through Axon's website. So we can go ahead and it'll actually blow out faces for you, this software.
Wow.
Yeah, it's excellent. And then you can look through to make sure it caught everything, but it takes you so much less time. So Lieutenant Colbert handles that for us, and this is a great help to him.
Is whatever the replacement for veg in this cost?
Yeah, so we're not in veg anymore, we are only involved in edge.
Right.
Yeah,
I just couldn't remember the name of the new one.
right.
And is that in this line?
That will also be in contract services, yes.
And how much is that?
Edge is 20,400 a year. And that's through a formula.
So are those the biggest items that go in that account?
Let me look over one more time.
That accounts for about 60,000 of the 190.
The flat cameras are about 27,250 a year. Those are the license plate readers. They can alert you to, warrants, any other crime involving a vehicle. And then you can also go back and check them. If you had a burglary, you can see what cars were in the area at that time. And it's a database that goes throughout the country. So you have access to out-of-state cameras as well. And we have 8 of those in the city. That would be the largest ones. And nothing additional for this year. Well, it's called a Trax system through LexisNexis. It's $5,000, and that's cell phone based. So we used to have a program called Leads Online that we paid for. It was about $3,000. We're getting rid of it. It primarily helps you if there was a burglary and you have a suspect. You're able to run their name and see what pawn shops they use.
Wow.
But nobody uses the pawn shops anymore when they're stealing things, at least hardly ever. So it really has been less and less helpful over the years. So with this Trax program, you can instead use cell phone based information and it'll feed it to you immediately instead of a long and drawn out process. So that's about $5,000. It's a switch off of $2,000 basically.
Chief, I know it's relatively constant, it looks like, but what constitutes the outside legal line item typically?
Sure, that's mostly our prosecutor.
Okay,
And it just varies depending on how many people are
Yeah.
trying to contest things.
Same question to you, Chief, on attracting new officers, similar to the fire chief's challenges, or better, worse?
So the past hiring, both officers only applied at our place.
Really?
That we hired on this list. And they said a lot of it was because they liked our social media, the Facebook, the outreach stuff.
Yeah.
And one's wife works in the area, and they like our guys at an event for it was a career fair, and we always send our guys out to these things at colleges. And he said out of all the groups he liked our guys the best, so he just applied at our place.
Wow.
So they're both ex-Marines and they're the ones in the academy right now. So it was outreach that got them over. They're great candidates. So it worked out well. Lieutenant Colbert's doubled our social media following since we started.
I was gonna say, who's actually running that social
Yeah,
media
we have some
content?
fun. He does a great job, and we bounce ideas off each other. And Greg helps a lot with material sometimes too. But it was about 3,000 people when we started, and it's up to about 6,500 now. So
Fantastic.
it's good. Yeah,
That's good to hear.
it's a lot
That's
of
a
good.
great story. Yeah.
But
Okay,
it was helpful.
good. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Anything else, guys?
Thanks, Chief.
All right, let's move on. Perhaps, Mr. Advent, you want to pick it up?
And Jim's stuff is like on a number of pages, so I don't know if you wanted to kind of write it down, because he has so many different departments, but he's got solid waste on pages 16 to 20, service on pages 20 to 24, the small public lands item, I'd say is his on page 27. There's a couple of the special revenue funds, the highway fund and the street maintenance fund, on pages 29 and 30, and also the recycle funds on page 30, but, Jennifer, want to go ahead and talk about?
Obviously, we're all over the place with everything, so it's kind of hard to track down.
Maybe you can just sort of summarize it for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to, summarize and highlight one special area. Because being into everybody's, we kind of fall into a lot of these budgets, so, that's where, especially in vehicle maintenance, we do all vehicle maintenance, so, you'll see that in the chiefs, both chiefs funds, and we take care of some of that. Some of that is their outside services, but all the house stuff still goes through us. But we divide it all up so it doesn't seem. I think in the past, a lot of it used to go to service, but we kind of got it to, we use a little bit of everybody's funds on that. We accomplished a lot, I think, this year. One of my big things that was in solid waste, I had said that we had started a new contract that was in October of '24. So we actually got through our whole first year of that contract. And in that, we had to do a change in our recycling. We started breaking open the bags and going into a bulk delivery system. And that was supposed to give us a better grip on the recycling, because we were actually using our recycling as a commodity. So we were selling our recycling through the county. This was a program the county started. And we went from $120 a ton down to like around $12 a ton.
To sell it.
To sell.
From the old days.
From the old days. So in 2024, our recycling was 32,983 for the year. This past year, our recycling is 6,246. So that's a big jump in the recycling. It's a little more labor intensive. We've had to add another guy out on the road all the time, but we didn't increase the employment. We just took another guy and shifted them around a little bit. So,
This is the labor cost to get.
so the labor cost, since ours is a unique situation because we take our whole department and split it in half. Solid waste and roads. It's kind of cumbersome in certain areas, but you get to see exactly where the contract services, especially, are. Most of the contract services in solid waste are dumping fees, straight up. Last year, or 24, we were at 154,935. 25, we're 159,052. So, and that's the year-to-date actually. So we got the rest of the month. So we also bought some containers, and we're doing our own cardboard recycling now, as opposed to having a contract with Kimball. We started this in July, so we haven't had a full year on that either, but we went from 2024 to 5,635, and we're down to 4,718. So we did drop quite a bit in half a year. And that was normally because our cardboard container was a rental, so it cost us money to have it sit in our parking lot. And then it cost us money to have them pick it up and dump it, and then bring it back. And so we thought we could do this ourselves. We dedicated, we bought a couple of containers under, tried to get them under a grant. They didn't go for that, but we just bought them outright for ourselves. We had the money in the budget to do it, and it's been going good so far.
Someone picks up the containers?
Our own guys take it.
Take it to the recycling?
Yeah, and they take it, they dump it, it costs us nothing. Where we used to pay for that, that is a wash, and it gets all the cardboard where it's supposed to be. So that is our big thing that we've been doing in solid waste. I know, all our dumping fees are basically out of that contractual services. Little bit of stuff we have to split. We split the time clock, Verizon contracts, oil recycling, iWorks, which is a new software system we're using this year, and then DPI, which is our contract. So we're 160,000. So we, what did we do with that? We were at 204 for 2025. We're going to go down to 185.
And 80-90% of that is dumping.
Oh, yeah, and 90% of it is dumping fees, out of the, what's there, so, yeah. Going through the rest of the stuff, solid waste is pretty basic. Our equipment is holding up pretty well, so through our capital budget, we took all our big equipment that we were due for this year. We bumped everything back 1 year, and we're gonna see how, the fleet's holding up very well. We're starting to do we started doing some oil spraying, which we do that right when we get the vehicles brand new. We continue on, it makes the vehicles last a whole lot longer. We also do that on some of the fire equipment, and some of the police equipment also.
Sorry, what was that, oil what?
Oil spraying, it's kind of like an undercoating.
Oh.
So that's kind of where we're at with all of those things. You can see everything's kind of bumps around here and there. Like I said, vehicle equipment maintenance, tires are a big thing on that, because those little units use tires up at least a set a year, sometimes two, so. That's that in solid waste. Any questions on solid waste? Service. Contract services on this guy are, now we fix up some of the other stuff. Verizon, which is a tracking system that goes around, we monitor our equipment, so we know when it's on the street, if somebody will call up, we usually get a resident, generally during garbage. Hey, are the guys on my street yet? I might have missed them. We can track them right down where they're at, close to the house. So, Jan Pro, which is the cleaning system for all the buildings. Orkin, obviously we don't know what Orkin does. Time Tracks, which is our payroll system. In there is also the 100,000 that we put aside for stormwater, storm inspection, cleaning, any kind of work we've done. We use that. We didn't use it too much this year. That's why the number is really low. Our budget on that was 124. We've only spent 22,611 on it. So we're way down low on it, but we're in so much other sewer stuff this year. We kind of just thought that we can't tear up another road.
Yeah, I'll butt in a little bit. Like, we also picked up some sewer repairs on Fairmount when we did the resurfacing. There were a couple of spot repairs that we did under that Fairmount contract. So it doesn't make it show James Lane, those things are still there.
Yeah. So most of that sewer stuff is between Don and myself. We go and say, hey, this street's coming up. We're going to pave this street. Let's do inspections, get it done properly, and get it televised by United Survey is usually the company that does that for us. Then when they find trouble spots, they fix them before the road gets paved. We had that situation on South Woodland just last year before it needed to get done. Then once it was done, we paved it, it was done. All good. Tightened that up well. So, big anomalies here. Maintenance, auto maintenance is kind of up a little bit, but we thought we could go back a couple $1,000 and see how we go. Like I said, our equipment's in pretty good shape, so we're not getting super giant expenses, but every once in a while we pick up something. We had a transmission go on one of the little RTVs. It's $6,500 just for that little guy alone. So those things are a little cumbersome, but. Anything else in here really? Any questions on anything else on that? Building and land maintenance obviously is our is, we do basically all over the place, so every building, they're not all separated out on them, so say they need to do new lighting or something, we take care of it. That good on, is good on that, any questions? Capital, as I said, if we go to our capital, we pushed everything back, our trucks, big trucks, we thought we were good for this year, so 26, we have, some other things that we're trying to get done. We had the corp signs in here for a little while. Those are the welcome to the city signs. They're really starting to look rough. We need to get a design and we put it aside 150,000. I don't know what they're gonna cost, so we just.
You're just gonna replace them?
Yeah, we're talking about new poles, replace them, change the design a little bit maybe. We have a concrete saw in here. That's for when we're doing road repair and concrete repairs. We, for years, have used, we borrowed one from another city, but things have changed a little bit and that, so that situation's changing. So we kind of said, maybe this is a good time. We're low on other vehicles. So we do have some traffic line painting. We bumped up a little bit on that because we're going to try to do some permanent paving or permanent paint as opposed to stuff that wears out really.
Is that a new thing?
It's a
No.
thermoplastic, it's been around for a long time, but it's gotten better, I think, and it is more durable. You probably get a good 2, 3, 4 years out of it before it shows signs of wear, and the prices come down too, so.
So the trade-off works and maybe it didn't in the past.
Yeah, within the 2 years, you probably pay for it.
Yeah, so if we can get 2 years out of it, you're okay. And then anything over that's a bonus.
What's the material that's used now?
It's a plastic.
It's plastic.
It's thermal plastic, you put it down, you heat it up, and it kind of melts, it sticks on the pavement. You can feel it when you drive your car over, you can actually feel it kind of bump.
It's on Gates Mills, you drove down on Gates Mills, you'd have to be in the bike path, I suppose. Okay, they're there.
That answers one of the questions that I've always had, is because it seems like we would just do the same thing every year. So why would it be in capital? It should just be an expense if it's something we have to do every year. But if we have something that's durable, it makes sense to, put it in this account.
Yeah, hopefully it works out and, it's something new for us, but,
We have more pedestrian crossings.
yeah, and we've added so much more stuff.
Paint going down.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We have I had street lighting on there. We've been trying to get some lights repaired under 278. So I applied some money towards that, and all the gate and fence stuff by our recycling garbage area is falling down, not good. So we're going to try to do all that this year. So we put aside 30,000, and if there's any extra for the following year, we just threw it out there in case we have someone on the park that fence kind of falls down. We might need to upgrade some of that. So that's where we went to budget for streets and capital. The other big thing is salt. And salt is, it's gone up considerably this year. Last year we had $49 a ton. This year I believe it's $40 or $64 a ton. Very good increase. Plus we also last year, or not last year, the year before, we had such an abundance that we only ordered 2,500 tons as opposed to what we normally order is 3,200 tons. So we saved money there, but we were paying for it now because now they uncharacteristically jumped up pretty high after a low usage year. So the salt companies are trying to make their money back a little bit, I suppose. A lot of that comes out of the state highway fund we have, and then we have just straight salt. But the biggest issue with that not for us, but for the people to see is our budget goes from January to December. Salt goes from September till April. So what we bought the salt, we just got 700 tons delivered this week. That's on the new rate, but it's in the old year. So we're getting it at the new rate. We had to pay for it at the new rate. So that's why we raised it up quite a bit. But I've got to try to cover up those those little loopholes in there. So you'll see, I think that goes from up to 175, or 185,000. We did that in Portland. And that was, gosh, that was one of the times. Let's see, I had it from-
I think you hit them all unless you want to talk about like a recycle fund, but.
Yeah, the only thing in the recycling fund here is, we generally work a lot through the grants. We get a pretty good grant from the Cuyahoga County Recycles. We get that every year. That pays for our shredding events and newsletters and different things. And once in a while, we're able to get, if we have enough money saved up, we can get a receptacle or something like that to put out there for, it has to be for recycling, not for rubbish, so it's to promote recycling. We have to put money aside behind that because we don't know if we're gonna get that grant. That grant, I think, is awarded in April. So we have to back it up with some money, just so, because theirs is a reimbursement. So that's why there's money there and then it gets reimbursed. And that's how that works. Sound right, Peter?
Yes, sir.
Is that a pretty good explanation of that? Okay, and I believe that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other questions? Ladies and gentlemen?
How are you on staffing?
We actually have, we had a guy that just retired, or he was a very short time guy. He was not going to be around long, but he was a great worker, so sorry to see him go. He left in October, and a new gentleman starts next week. And we did pretty good this year because most of the people that, we had 3 or 4 good candidates. We also are losing our part-time guy, Gary. Most of the people around know Gary. He's been around for, he started in
75.
Oh my gosh.
75. I think he's almost
75?
up.
Yeah.
He had retired for about 19 months, and he came back as a part-timer. He works 3 days a week, but yeah. So he's got 50, just about 50 years.
Wow.
And he's still out there picking up good trash. And he's gonna be a hard guy to replace because he's super dependable. Yeah, great work. Yeah. So, but yeah, we did pretty well with employees.
Yeah.
We had some good candidates, so
Good to hear.
hopefully we can get to replace Gary and we can possibly one of these new people. So.
Does he get a second retirement party?
He reluctantly, I don't know if he even went to his first one. So,
Wow. All right. Mr. Kolosik, you want to,
Sure.
do the paces?
All right. Some of the big highlights this year, we have 1 lot left in Sterling Lake, so that development is coming to the
What
end.
And what
page are
page
you
are you
on?
on?
He's on
14.
14 and 15.
14. Again, same thing with Edward Trace. We're on the last building. Hopefully that should be completed here very shortly. And Cedar Lakes, 2 homes under construction, 1 lot left. I have been told that's probably going to be built start the beginning of the year. We're still seeing though, it is the place to be. Contractors calling me all the time looking for lots, what's available. We are pretty built out here in Pepper Pike, but what we're seeing seems to be the trend right now. Every time a house goes on the market, somebody's selling it. The builders rush in really quick. They fight for these lots and then they tear them down and build new. It's been kind of unique on Fairmont Boulevards, especially the southern side of Fairmont Boulevard between the Circle and Sound Center Road. A lot of the original houses on Fairmont were close to the street, and what's happening now is people are buying those, or they're actually still living in them, tearing those down and building much larger houses. And so that seems to be a trend right now on Fairmont Boulevard.
How many empty lots left in the city? You know, have a guess?
It's a handful,
10 or something?
probably less than that.
Less than that.
Yeah. And so it's
It's a tear down market then.
It's a tear down market and they move real fast. Once something goes on the market, I'll have the same 3 or 4 builders calling me up, asking about setbacks and making sure there's utilities. And it's a matter of 2 or 3 days and that lot is gone.
Wow.
They're not sticking around. It's a hot commodity here in Pepper Pike. Commercial wise, Medina Creative Living, they built 23 units. The last, I think we're down to 3 more units need to be finished, and they're expected to have those done before the end of the year. And then once we roll into the new year, we'll be looking at phase 2 for that project to build their community center. Heritage Classical Academy, they finished the rehabilitation of most of their buildings on that site. They've already exceeded their classroom space, so they'll be installing new temporary classroom buildings in the first quarter of 26. But they're actively working pretty strong on their capital campaign, because their master plan is to really do an incredible job on that site. And so they're working hard to, their enrollment just keeps increasing. They're out of classroom space already, and so they're looking to really ramp up that facility. Orange Schools, every year we get quite a few projects over there. They completed the alteration and addition at the Early Learning Center, as well as putting a new roof on, and there were a lot of improvements made over at the Orange High School pool. The Country Club just finished their maintenance projects, which included roof replacement, window replacement, and masonry repairs. Haven't heard any other major projects going on there. And the Pepper Pike Club just finished a new patio and a comfort station out on the golf course. Some of the other projects that we're looking at coming into 2026 is, I have met with the architects for the Cleveland Racquet Club. They're looking at putting a major expansion onto their indoor court facility. As already stated, Medina Creative Living is looking at a community center, and as well Heritage Classical Academy to expand their campus. One of the major accomplishments here in the building department this year was, unbeknownst to us, halfway through 2024, our software vendor got bought out by another vendor. This was a company that we didn't want to work with. They were really putting pressure on us to go with them, but at least from a building department standpoint, it wasn't a good fit. So we were out there looking for new software, and I was able to, the software that we wanted to use and what a lot of the other communities around here have switched to was CitizenServe. And I found out through the First Suburbs Consortium, they actually had a major grant that they had gotten in Cuyahoga County. And so when I went with CitizenServe, both here and in Moreland Hills, First Suburbs paid our initial fee of $20,000 for the implementation and the purchase of the software for our first calendar year. So this year we ended up, switching software vendors. We had to rebuild it for our community. And as a matter of fact, this week we finally now have the ability to go online. We just opened the online portal for contractors to do contractor registration. And we're slowly building that out so that contractors can now go directly online and access permits and pay for things that way. So it's, good strides in that. And I think that works out well with, working with contractors and being able to provide that service. The other thing is it had been my plan this year to work on the fee ordinance to go back and look at the permit fees to start to increase those. That hasn't been done since I've been here, but that had to kind of take a back burner because we needed to focus on getting the computer software up and running. So in the beginning of 2026, either the end of January or the beginning of February, I'll be bringing forward legislation with the new permit fees and what I'd like to do with that. Moving along in my budget, as far as the building department wages, that basically just comprises Tara Carlson. She's really the only employee here in Pepper Pike. And then as you go down, conferences, education and travel, office supplies, and a lot of the other major items are just kind of what we have every year, just kind of carry that over. But the biggest expense always is the contract services. And what that is basically made up of is both myself and Tom Pistek. We're actually employed, as you know, by the city of Moreland Hills, but Pepper Pike pays a portion of our expenses. Also within that number is electrical inspectors. Up until this year, I can inspect everything both commercially and residentially except electrical. And it's based on what the state, their requirements were for electrical inspectors, but they actually, after after about 3 years, we really forced the state that they needed to open up a residential electrical inspector certification. And so that became available in July of this year. So I was able to get that inspector certification. And so now, instead of paying out, we still have the electrical inspector to cover commercial and some of the bigger residential jobs. But now I carry my residential electrical certification. So now I can do a lot more of those inspections. And that takes our costs down for outside electrical contract inspectors. As well under that will be our ongoing maintenance for our computer software, what we pay our architects who sit on the architectural review board. We pay that out, but that's paid by the fee that we bring in for the architectural review board applications. And then also for commercial plans that come in, depending on my workload, I do review those, but sometimes I have to send them out based on the workload. But that gets paid. We have to pay them to do that, but that gets covered by the cost. We just bill that back to the permit. So that's really what makes up our contract services. And as far as capital, all I'm looking for is a new computer for next year.
Anything? No? Thank you. Okay. We'll turn to Don, I guess. Don, we've really, although it's the biggest part of the budget so far as a lot of this, there's nothing that council's more familiar with than all these projects. So
We've heard them ad nauseam.
you have to start all over.
I'll start off with the fun picture on the front that was taken by our drone. So we'll call it a picture of the surface.
It is a fun thing.
And a lot of people put that photograph. Very nice photo. I think,
Pages 41 to 43.
yeah, sort of a brief overview. What we always try to do is go after any possible grant opportunities we can get. Our sources are Regional Sewer District, Cuyahoga County, Regional Sewer District has a couple of opportunities. They go through the NCIP program where we've been really pretty successful. And we also do have some money available through what's called the Community Cost Share Program, where they give back a certain portion of the fees paid by residents to Regional Sewer District back to our community to help in small storm sewer projects and things like that. We also go after funding from ODNR for trails. Ohio Public Works Commission is a pretty good source of funding. Sometimes it's a loan, sometimes it's a grant, but we try to take advantage of all of these opportunities whenever we can. So that's going to continue on in years to come as we start looking at some of the spends for 26. Cuyahoga County is it's a modest pavement maintenance program grant. It's usually somewhere in around $100,000 towards material costs. So if we're doing, let's say we paid Fairmount this year, that's county route, $100,000 worth of material costs is covered by that grant. So we apply every year for funding for that, and then they reimburse us for expenses. So we have about $100,000 short of that. Sometimes we're at, as you know, we kind of beat the Boulevard here because we have the trail. We've got about $850,000 reimbursed about $800,000 reimbursed this year for that. There's another opportunity.
Is the phase 2 grant all buttoned up?
We do have that money, yeah. It's a reimbursement, so,
Right.
but
It's locked in.
Yeah.
Good.
Lander Road Pump Station, that's the one by Ursuline. We got $75,000 grant for the total cost is about $100,000. We got 3/4 of it paid for by Regional Sewer District. Part of that is they've broken out the design phase versus construction phase. They give you the grant for the design, that means they think it's a really project. So the hope is they come back for the construction phase. We're going to try to go after 75% of it in the grant. So they show miscellaneous new in the ORSD storm sewer monies. That's that community cost share money I was talking about, $90,000 there. We did get a Southwest Quadrant grant to the tune of about $2 million. The spend is going to be likely split up over a couple of years. 26 and 27.
And those are for the
That's
Belgrade?
for that's actually the South Woodland Road primarily, and Lanark Lane, and the pump station. That's kind of, we intend to look at the next phase. We haven't locked this in yet, but in terms of just looking forward, to go after the design portion of the next phase of the southwest quadrant, which would be a design fee of about $300,000. Very preliminary estimate, and we would hope to go after another grant for that. There's no guarantee that we're gonna get those monies, but, this is kind of the strategy. So, a little bit of playbook.
What streets would that be?
That is, Bremerton, let's see, Golf Course, portion of Currisdale, some, basically, again, in sort of that southwest chunk of the city.
Southwest Quadrant
Quadrant.
2.
Yes, that would be the sort of the second phase. And we do have money right now for the Belgrade Sewer construction project, so that is, a big chunk of it is a grant from the Regional Sewer District. We will have some money being spent there for some storm sewer repairs and also ultimately resurfacing the street. That's the money coming in.
I'm going to interject because this next part, I think I got some of that, is the land and buildings with the fire department there. City park maintenance, we put some money aside there. We also have city hall maintenance, but city hall edition, or Pepper Pike Park edition, that was something we talked about last year that we didn't know what to do with it, so that money's been kind of riding along. Citywide trees that we actually spent some of that money just recently, so that's why it hasn't come out as a expenditure. We've got 45 new trees coming for all ones that we lost, mostly in the cul-de-sacs. Throughout the years, we've cut them down now, so we got some money. We finally set aside enough money to just try to do a tree maintenance, replace the ones that we were missing. And we also have enough that if we need to do a bunch on Gates Mills when phase 2 is done, we have a lot of open spots up there for trees. So we're going to keep that going.
And those cul-de-sacs are city-owned land, right?
Yes, most of them are city owned and city maintained. There's a couple out there that are not, and like your street, your neighbor takes care of our house. So, which is great. I told him, yeah, you want to do it, knock yourself out.
He does a nice job.
Yes, he does a nice job, and it's unfortunate that sometimes it gets messed up a little bit with snow plows, or a truck goes through it. But, so yeah, that top end was kind of my part there, so sorry about that.
No, that's great. We do have, money budgeted for sort of the normal street repair and reconstruction work. We've laid out a bit of a strategy for our normal concrete repair and reconstruction stuff that we know of. We have a good number for this year, because there are probably more areas than we normally have, and we've kind of a flat number moving forward. Same point repairs, catch basin repairs, and crack seal program, all those things. It's usually pretty close to where the numbers come out, but we're actually usually on those. We do show numbers for, at least trying to carry a budget in for the Chagrin Lander Circle reconfiguration, whatever work is going to happen there. We have a number in there for doing some type of pedestrian walkway from the circle at Lander down Chagrin to the school campus. So again, just a placeholder, but it's an area where we want to get something in the budget so that we're at least planning for it. It's also areas where we see potential for getting outside funding. So I think it's important to keep it in the mix.
Don, can I ask you a question about
Sure.
those? Because that's obviously something I care deeply about. The Lander to school in particular, placeholder 2028 sounds very far away, but also just like, it's placeholders, nothing concrete. Like,
Right.
why? I know to a certain extent, I understand when you say, it makes sense to think of it holistically, tying into something potentially done with the circle.
Mhm.
That just seems like a long time.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
That's why quite frankly, why it's not done right now.
Yeah.
Because it is a complicated issue. Private property owners, you have private access to the circle, you have 5 roadways essentially coming together there. So it is a tough thing to sort of crack. I think there are ways to do it. I think that it's gonna take some time to sort of work
So-
with all of the people around the perimeter of that. You have an RTA bus stop there.
Yeah.
All these things have to be kind of orchestrated.
So I guess my question is, it's not possible to tackle the sort of Chagrin school portion, potentially cutting through on, what's the name of the little street that comes? Lewis. You know, like
Yeah.
sort of a different,
Yeah,
like something like that where you don't run into all those issues that, are
Right.
like really tricky.
right. That's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
It's not being ruled out at all by this.
Yeah.
Again, we have at least an approximate plan.
Mhm.
We have applied, and we'll find out probably in the next few weeks. We did apply for some Ohio Public Works funding
Okay,
for this, both for the circle and the path to, so we put them as a single item in our application. We'll see if we get anything.
Okay.
If we get that funded, that will kind of give us a better timeline.
was this the one that was relatively contentious a few meetings ago? Like the
Yeah.
like how the specificity of the
Right,
application. and all
right, yeah,
that,
the
right? Okay.
application is sort of generic,
Yeah.
but we do have to show, we have to put some
There has
meat
to be
on
some
the
sort of plan,
application, so
yeah.
they can say, yes, this is the estimate.
Okay.
And so we do have some project limits, and we made an assumption on where it could go.
Okay,
The actual details of the application don't lock us
right.
to that specific location.
Okay.
So,
And then, I know there was talk about potentially, sort of restarting communications with the district. Has that, anything happened there?
I know that the mayor has,
Okay.
we've had some initial conversations and. it's-
Okay, great.
So,
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Anything more for Don? Okay, well,
Wait, are we talking about the next section?
anything more from you, Peter? You're good.
We can talk about finance yet.
Okay, we can talk about finance.
Well, wait, hang on. Are we gonna talk about the second half of this page? Did you go through that one? Or is there nothing that you wanna touch
You know,
on?
we don't, there's really, I think we've talked about a lot of this stuff, so if somebody has a question, I'm happy to answer it, but I think most of you, you've heard these things a few times. I'm always happy to, if you do have a question now or later, I'm happy to answer it.
Well, I would like to ask about, I know of all the sort of rankings of the different projects, when you give us that really awesome presentation. Cedar was big ticket, but it was possible to split it.
Right.
And from what I gathered, there was one, way you split it into like sort of a simpler and a more complicated part.
Yeah.
Is that still sort of like in the mix? Because it's not even,
Right,
line
well,
item
in the
here.
street repair and reconstruction item,
yeah,
I have a fair amount of money in there allocated for doing repairs on Cedar.
okay,
So the minutia of that doesn't stick out in here, but that's really where we would do, I think, some resurfacing to take care of the worst spots.
Mhm.
And then we really want to do a comprehensive discussion with the other 2 towns, with both Lyndhurst and Maple Heights, about looking at that whole corridor.
in that, okay.
And it's a little bit of a.
So
bigger lift.
again, it's the same,
Yes.
somewhat of a similar situation to the circle where it's not just like, go down
Yeah, we don't want to
sidewalks,
pave that
right?
street, because.
Well, not just the paving, but the walkways, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And also the walkways.
Okay.
And as we said in the infrastructure meeting, we have a new mayor in Mayfield Heights, so we really don't have anybody to talk to until after the first of the year.
Then Maple did a water line onto Medfield, that's the new street? Lewis?
Medfield and Lewis, and then
Lewis also is in water line,
The other Lewis. There are a lot of Lewis parts on
and
that
a
street.
portion of Cedar, so that's.
Right. Okay, thank you for those questions. Peter, do you have anything about finance, or is it all pretty laid out and clear?
I'm on pages 23 and 24, and this past year, one thing we got done was the audit. I kind of came late, and I know the staff worked really hard to get that audit done timely, and as far as I know, there weren't any findings or anything. First of all, through with the auditors, these are new auditors, they were a great team, and I'm just glad we got it done. We also did the investment policy. We're trying to put that into use now and, investing in some things that we traditionally haven't, but they're still, very high grade items. And then for 2026, our big thing is we really want to implement a new, as far as the capital asset policy goes, we did that sort of this year, but we really want to implement new software for us to track that. And we are kind of doing everything by hand in an Excel spreadsheet.
Where is that?
That is on 2 lines. That would be on the equipment and maintenance line. You can see it's like $23,000 there. And the other item that we have that's a kind of a big expense is the outside auditors. If you see that bumped up from last year, bumped up significantly because we have, I was informed, actually like the day I was writing this, that the state's not gonna do part of the compilation service anymore. So I had no idea what that was gonna cost. And they gave me a letter, said, hey, here's some firms that do this. And, we basically bid that out. We got some bids back on that, and, some people that I've worked with before on the list too. So I'm confident that we'll find somebody, and hopefully what I have in there will be enough, but that cost is going to go up a little bit compared to what it's been there, because that's been, what we budgeted in here was pretty tight in the previous years. So that's kind of finance. And the only other, go ahead, Mr.
Just a question on that. You mentioned the software. I know we bought a new system 4 years ago. Are you looking for the capital software? Are you looking for a different program, or is it part of that program?
We're looking at the program that's incorporated within our own software.
Okay,
So
it's a new module?
it's just a module of
Okay.
the software, so it hopefully won't be too much. We had like a demo that they did for us maybe 3 weeks ago, and
Are you satisfied with the system we have?
yeah, I like it.
You like it? Oh, that's good to hear. Okay. And so this is a module we haven't executed or bought before.
Correct, and I think, part of it, we did like a new, like to do my monthly reports, kind of improve some of the monthly reporting with them. I don't know if they charged me for that part, but there's some other changes we'll want to make just to have like certain reports done a better way. That's probably going to cost us a little more. Kind of looking at those things, I haven't been back on that since, I don't know, since I started getting on it, and, we made the one change, and sometimes it's, a big lift to do whatever you have to do or want to do, and then just we haven't got back on that yet, but.
It's long been my impression that there's capabilities in that system that we have not taken advantage of. So I'm glad to hear you like the system and that you're going to look for fully utilizing it to make your job
Sure.
easier. Yep.
Use the same company for one of the counties I worked at, not doing the financial part, but they had like our, the property tax part, and actually a lot of the reports that are in Cuyahoga County now, they must have went with the same company, because I know we developed those reports in Lucas County to look the way that they did, and now.
They took them from you and put them into their
Yeah,
master
they
system.
put it-
Did you get a royalty check from
Yeah,
them?
we
No, no.
We should have got a royalty check for that one. But that's the finance part, and I did want to say how much I appreciate all the directors and what they did working with me on coming up with a budget, and just the fact that they're here. I know it's probably a little different than what they've done before. Both Paul, Don, Jim, I spent like a lot of time with Don this year trying to catch up on, learning about the project. It's still like have a complete grasp on them, but, I'm always asking him questions about that, and, he's been very accommodating, getting me up to speed on things. And the chiefs, they all sat down, everybody sat down with me and kind of worked through what all the different numbers are, and, what's in those, and what's this, what's that. So we kind of took everything apart, and, I still appreciate the presentations we made. Kind of a shame this doesn't count as an official reading, but I know we covered a lot of ground.
It's
tonight,
memorialized,
and,
so everyone can.
Yeah.
Right, right. And I would encourage, any of the non-present council persons to review, so they can benefit from the conversation tonight. If there's nothing.
Just one other question, just the big capital item for the city hall renovation. I just wanted to talk through. Like the year one, it's very small, it's 150. Are you planning on a space utilization study, or what are you thinking about?
Yeah,
for the first year?
I'm talking to, listening to council, talking to our ADR informally about it. Yes, we need some sort of needs study. In one conversation that we had, Mr. Lemay, you indicated that you were open to upstairs too, and that just, Mr. Deutsch had done a needs study, but he had intentionally limited himself because that was, at that time, the impression of the appetite as to what to do. If we're looking at upstairs, it just changes the whole dynamic of what he's looking at. So we need a needs study, whether Paul does it or not. So we need to do a needs study.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So that's step one. And we'll go from there. And we try to put some numbers into the budget to anticipate the follow-ups.
Yeah. I agree. I've used prior places in my career, just a space utilization plan.
Right.
Once you have the needs, they come in and say, with fresh eyes, how can we make the most of your existing footprint and see what we can do there, and then go from there? And I found them to be, just because they look at it with fresh eyes, just remarkably effective at, why are you doing that there when you could do, just,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think also looking holistically at the basement, is there space there that could be utilized for some
Well,
other?
yeah, and that was
purpose?
part of the Deutsch proposal.
Yeah.
Comprehended the downstairs.
Yeah.
but It was doing that without dealing with the upstairs.
Yeah.
So the whole workflow and needs, it just changes altogether.
Are you looking at these, space planning firms? Is that one on your radar as a?
I haven't gotten to
You haven't gotten there yet?
doing it,
Okay.
so.
Because I know there's some that just specialize just in that. And I found them in prior experience to be remarkably creative.
If you've had good experience, maybe you could share those names.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I'll see if I can find some. Okay.
That's it. There's nothing more tonight. My ambition, I think it's really too bad that we don't have a second reading. I have had I sent out a text to one of the council people saying, if you're home, can you come here so we can get a quorum going? And I don't have any responses, so we're not gonna get the second reading. I hope that after tonight, I don't want this director, the directors have done their jobs. And I appreciate very much all of you having been here tonight, not a regular evening for you to be here, and you answered all the questions. I hope at the next meeting, if we can get 5, we can even suspend and get this thing adopted and passed. Peter is working on, can he accelerate that final appropriations adjustment?
The cleanup
So
for
we
this
don't,
year?
yeah, the cleanup, so we don't push it to the very end of the year. I'd like to get these things, given some attendance issues we may encounter, I'd like to just get these things accomplished and done.
And that would be Tuesday, right?
It would be this coming Tuesday.
Yeah. So I just echo the mayor, Peter, fantastic.
Peter may
Yeah.
blanch at that, because I don't know if he can do it. that
And
fast.
to all the department heads, thank you as well. You were well prepared, answered the questions, and it just was a great presentation, so thank you.
I
Okay,
think,
with that,
but Peter, as Peter said, the other members of the finance staff contributed.
Oh, absolutely.
So we
yeah,
can't.
thank you very much to the staff that's been so important for helping Peter out there. And with that,
We're not
something
adjourned,
else?
we're not having a meeting.
Well, we're gonna adjourn our get together. But you're right, Mr.